candidate up is Donald Mottern. He is the Democratic candidate for Alabama State Senate District 11, representing communities across St. Clair, Talladega, and Shelby counties. Born in Mobile and raised in the Birmingham suburbs, Donald graduated from high school in Alabaster before earning his bachelor's degree, along with 2 minors from the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa, and he has lived in Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, and now calls Shelby County home. With a background in local journalism, Donald's campaign is rooted in a belief that Alabama deserves leadership that focuses less on political theater and more on the real issues that working families face. Infrastructure, public safety, healthcare access, government transparency, individual liberty, and the basic responsibility of making government work for the people that it serves. He has been a vocal advocate for a mandatory statewide dam safety and inspection program, stronger protections for immigrants, expanded transparency in law enforcement, protection of civil liberties, expanded health care, and new revenue streams that can strengthen Alabama's future without placing more burden on our working families. Above all, Donald believes Alabama is not helpless. It's not a punchline, and it certainly is not destined to remain at the back of the line. Please join me in welcoming up Donald.
Let me just say, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Across this country and throughout this state, there currently exists a profound lack of confidence and trust in our government. People no longer believe that those in power are listening to them. They do not believe that government institutions are working in their interest, that the law is being applied equally, or that the promises made during an election year will survive beyond election day. And that lack of trust did not appear out of nowhere. It has been earned through years of secrecy, neglect, broken promises, and elected officials who too often seem more interested in preserving their own power rather than serving the people who gave it to them. So tonight I want to speak about what I believe the people of this state should be able to expect from their government. What we are entitled to as citizens, as taxpayers, and as human beings. That we are guaranteed the right to choose our own representation in this country. That we have access to a healthcare system that does not bankrupt us for getting sick. That we have public schools that prepare our children for the future. And that we have every right to expect that those within government serve honorably and follow the laws they pass. These are not extreme positions. They are the basic requirements of a government that respects the people that it claims to represent. And I feel confident saying to you here tonight that Alabama is dramatically failing to meet those expectations, and that those in power are perfectly aware of it. Our state government has routinely behaved as though this state belongs only to the politicians running it. They draw and redraw districts to protect themselves. They divide communities whenever they become politically inconvenient. And they expect you to quietly accept whatever arrangement they design and hand down. For decades, they have chosen their own self-preservation at the expense of representation. A government that places its own power above the rights of the needs of its people cannot simply demand their confidence or their trust. Trust must be earned through good faith action and transparency. Now, my grandfather was a police officer, and he retired as the assistant chief of police in Alberta, Alabama. It was through him that I developed my deep respect for those who serve in law enforcement. But he also forged my understanding that those who hold authority also carry with them an incredibly serious responsibility to the public. As he would have insisted, supporting any institution does not require us to abandon our demand for accountability. In fact, that is what gives our support its meaning. It is accountability not unquestioning loyalty that protects the foundation of the law, preserves the public's trust, and defends those who serve honorably. And the greater the authority an institution holds over the public, the greater its obligation to exercise that authority is openly and responsibly. That is why no law enforcement officer should ever conceal their identity from the public while carrying out normal duties. Why no agency should hide behind secrecy when a person has been seriously injured or killed. Why no grieving or worried family should have to protest in the streets just to receive information about a loved one. Why body camera footage should not be treated as public evidence when it supports an official narrative and locked away in a locker when it raises uncomfortable questions. Nor should government agencies bury the truth, discredit those asking questions, or close ranks simply because they are afraid to admit that a mistake was made somewhere down the line. And those who break the law should face consequences no matter their status or their position. But it is not just about rooting out the bad actors. Pursuing accountability also requires us to confront the preventable suffering that our leaders have chosen to tolerate in this state. There is nothing okay about a person being afraid to call an ambulance because they are worried about a bill. There is nothing tolerable about a grandmother skipping her meals while she debates which prescription she can afford that month. And there is nothing acceptable about parents delaying the care for a sick child because their deductible is more than they have in savings or available to them. But here in Alabama, all of this happens every single day. In 1980, there would have been no question across most of this state that there was a nearby hospital that could provide an expecting mother with both maternity care and a labor and delivery unit. But in 2026, Shelby County, the most economically developed county in the entire state of Alabama, is entering its third year without a single hospital that can offer the same. Providence Hospital in Mobile has shuttered their unit, and more closures are on the way and in the pipeline. Rural hospitals and maternity wards are closing across the state of Alabama, with half of this state's rural hospitals currently considered at risk for closure. Healthcare is not just some talking point. It is a mother trying to find a hospital that will deliver her baby. It is a waitress whose chest has been hurting for 3 days but who cannot afford to miss work to go to the hospital. It is a diabetic that is stretching their insulin until the next payday. And it is you and every member of your family. Across Alabama, people are driving farther for care, waiting longer for their appointments, and paying more to receive less. We have reached a crisis point in the state of Alabama. Our state must strengthen our rural hospitals and our clinics. We must expand access to prenatal, maternity, and infant care to regain the grounds we have lost. We must recruit doctors, nurses, dentists, and mental health professionals into the communities that have gone without them for too long. We should create stronger partnerships with community colleges and universities to train healthcare workers here in Alabama and help them remain here after they graduate. And we should immediately expand Medicaid by accepting the federal funding Alabama has continued to leave on the table out of a misguided pride. I am firm in the belief that health care should never be a luxury item in the United States of America, and no working family should be financially ruined because someone had the sheer audacity to get sick or have an accident. A government that cannot protect the basic health of its people has no business congratulating itself for its own leadership. Which brings me to what our leaders have allowed to happen to our public education in this state. We asked teachers to educate our children, identify abuse, manage behavioral problems, respond to emergencies, communicate with parents, administer tests, and also somehow solve every single social problem that rears its head in their classroom. Then we accuse them of failing when we refuse to provide the basic resources they need to do those jobs. I'm here to say that caring about children requires more than just mentioning them during a political campaign. It means funding their schools and respecting their teachers, making sure that our classrooms are safe, clean, that they have books, that they have working air conditioning and basic supplies. It means ensuring that students have access to counselors, nurses, libraries, arts programs, technical education, and safe transportation. Our teachers should not have to purchase tissues, paper, markers, and other classroom materials out of their own salaries, especially when lawmakers in Alabama can magically produce millions of dollars on utter nonsense, like renaming the Gulf of Mexico. Because that is not accountability. I consider that to be abandonment. I fundamentally reject the idea that the solution to struggling public schools is to remove even more money out of them. Because public money should go to public education. The overwhelming majority of Alabama's children attend public schools. Those institutions belong to their communities. Those communities have every right to expect that their tax dollars will support them and not some private school that locks a child's education behind a paywall. Our educators should be allowed to teach, and our students should be allowed to learn. And our local school boards should be allowed to govern without legislators in Montgomery turning every single classroom into another battlefield in their dramatic race to the bottom. If we are to move forward in Alabama, education must also prepare students for more than just one path. Yes, college is valuable and it should be affordable, but it is not the only route to a successful life. We desperately need stronger career and technical education in this state. We need apprenticeships, community college partnerships, and programs that allow students to graduate with certifications that lead directly into good paying work. A young Alabamian who is interested in welding, mechanics, plumbing, electrical work, construction, or agriculture should be able to begin building their career before ever leaving high school, because there is dignity in every single honest profession. Our education system should help students discover where their own interests and skills can take them, instead of simply telling them that success comes in only one form. Strong public education has been proven to lead directly to economic opportunity. But we must be honest about what economic opportunity means for Alabama. It cannot simply mean giving a large corporation millions of dollars in tax incentives or paving over a park to drop in a data center. Our economy should work for the people who already live here. It should work for the small business owners trying to keep the lights on and the farmers facing their rising costs. It should work for the mechanic, the cashier, the truck driver, and the construction worker. It should work for young people who want to remain in their hometowns but who cannot find a job that pays enough to build a life there. It means supporting small businesses rather than writing policy exclusively for whichever corporation can afford the most lobbyists. It also means developing new industries and new sources of revenue, instead of returning to the same exhausted answer whenever this state decides it needs money, which has been to cut services and ask you and working families to carry more of their burden. We should be pursuing advanced manufacturing in the state of Alabama. We should be pursuing medical research, renewable materials, and infrastructure development, as well as responsible agricultural industries, especially in regard to cannabis and hemp. We should adopt a lottery in the state of Alabama, and it is through these avenues that we will find the future we deserve as citizens of the state of Alabama. Now, with all this being said, your rights, affordable health care, education, and economic opportunity They're not separate subjects. They are all different parts of the very same promise. The promise that the government is accountable to you, the people. And for too long, Alabama's leaders have asked us to remain angry at one another so that we do not notice what they have failed to do. They want rural Alabamians angry at those in the cities. They want working people angry at those who've lost their jobs. They want parents afraid of the teachers, communities suspicious of your neighbors, and voters convinced that anyone who disagrees with them is an enemy. But I'm running for the state senate because I know in my heart we can all do better than this. And I believe when the people of this state finally stand up and say to them and everyone else that enough is enough, there will never be a political machine powerful enough to stop them. We need to finally recognize who the real problem in this state is and hold them accountable in November. This state and its government belong to you. Its future belongs to you. And it is long past time that we all began acting like it. Thank you.